I'm going to say something that sounds pretty counterintuitive, especially since I'm recording a video while I say it. But sometimes watching all of these videos on other people's experience and how they felt and what they've done and their symptoms that they had and didn't have, sometimes that just makes it worse. Makes you nervous. At least if you're me, it makes you nervous. Tomorrow's my egg retrieval. I triggered last night. I think I told you that when I went to get my ultrasound and sounding procedure yesterday, they told me I was going to trigger. And I had watched videos about tips for the trigger shot or what to expect with the trigger shot. And everyone's experience is different, so it doesn't discount anyone's experience. Mine wasn't bad at all. The worst part of the trigger shot for me was not mixing the medication, because that was pretty simple. I had to use the whole 10,000, I don't know, fluids. I don't know what the measurement is of the HCG. And that was with 1 milliliter of the liquid. But for me, the issue wasn't necessarily in mixing it, and it wasn't injecting it. It was literally just trying to get the medication out of the bottle using that huge 22 gauge needle. I found it hard to keep the needle in the liquid because the liquid would fall to the bottom of the needle, or to the bottom of the bottle, and it would make it hard to get that long needle, even though I kept pulling it downward. It was just really hard for me to get the needle, all the liquid into the needle. And then it was the hardest part. I triggered last night. I was supposed to do it at 10:15 p.m. I did it at 10:20. I was very honest. I told everyone that today when I went in for my pre-op, I told everyone that I triggered at 10:20, and they said it shouldn't be a problem. But, you can watch videos, and sometimes they have you more nervous. Sometimes they're good because they give you an idea, a real person's idea. The doctors will tell you anything, and they don't know. Quite honestly, unless they've done it themselves, and been through the experience, they really don't know. They can't say how much it hurts or really too much what to expect. For example, I've asked at least 2 doctors, just happen to be male doctors, one being my own doctor, how bad the egg retrieval is, because I've watched horror stories online. I've watched, women end up in the hospital. I've watched, so bad they couldn't pee, they couldn't walk, they need to be carried in a house. They, the person had bruising all, just for days, and horror stories about the egg retrieval. And, first thing my doctor says was, oh, it's not that bad. You're going to have some cramping. You're going to have some bloating, but it's not going to be horrible. You'll take your Tylenol. If it becomes unbearable, you'll call our clinic and all of that good stuff. And I don't know. I don't know how it's going to be because mine is tomorrow. But it just makes you more nervous because you start to think what could happen. So today, during the preoperative appointment, asked the female doctor, first female doctor I've seen since my initial visit. I asked her, and she said, oh, it's going to be pretty bad. Flat out. She didn't try to sugarcoat it. She didn't try to say, it's just like bad period cramps or something like that. She said it'll be pretty bad. You might have some pretty uncomfortable cramps and a lot of bloating. And she said, get some gas X, get some Tylenol, get a heating pad. And if it becomes similar to the other doctor, if it becomes really bad, or you feel you're getting an infection or it gets worse or you get a fever, to contact them. And they put you on antibiotics immediately. I'm on azithromycin. I think I said that right. They call it a Z-Pack. That is an antibiotic that I'll be starting tomorrow. I'm also on something called Medrol. I'm not really sure what Medrol is. I'll have to Google it or something, but it's another medication that I start tomorrow. I think Medrol tomorrow at dinner, and the Z-Pack I will start right after the procedure, if I'm correct. But everyone's experience is valid and everything people go through, but just don't, when you watch a video and you see they had the worst experience, they had the best experience, they had something in between, you never know where yours is going to end up on that scale. So I was pretty concerned about the trigger shot. I watched the videos. I went to, because I had the ultrasound and the sounding procedure yesterday. I went there and they drew the circles. Now the trigger shot is given in the upper outer quadrant of the buttocks. So unlike the other medications that I had been injecting, they were injected into the abdomen area, the lower abdomen. This one is an intramuscular injection, so it goes in the buttocks, in the upper outer quadrant of the buttocks. And so my doctor's office said that they could draw circles to show you exactly where it is supposed to go. So I took them up on that because I'm a worrywart. Things have to be done right, and I didn't want to risk messing up or not putting it in the right place or hitting a vein, God forbid, or something like that. So they drew the circles, and I think if I were to give a tip or someone on, if they cared what my tips were on the trigger shot, it would be to get the circles if your doctor's office offers that, because it helped me a lot. I ended up giving the trigger shot to myself. My husband has proven himself to be a little squeamish when it comes to the whole injection situation, so I chose to give myself the trigger shot. And trying to turn around and inject yourself in your buttocks and with this medication, and trigger shot is HCG. For me, it was HCG, just straight HCG. Some women have Lupron or something similar, which I think is supposed to help temper in case they're at risk of the ovarian hyperstimulation. Luckily, thank God, I was not. My numbers have been pretty good the entire time, so I didn't have that risk. But I triggered with just HCG, and you have to mix it appropriately. And it's not too difficult to mix. But the trigger shot is a very important shot. No pressure, right? So it has to be mixed and administered correctly. And then it has to be given at a certain time. And like I said, mine was supposed to be 10:15. And the reason for that is because it's given roughly 36 hours before your egg retrieval. So I did it last night. Today is Friday, October 26th. I did it last night on the 25th at 10:20. And then my retrieval is tomorrow I have to be there at 7:15, but I think the retrieval is going to start at roughly 9:15. So it's like 36 hours before. And then another crazy thing about the trigger shot is the trigger shot is given, you give it to you inject it between 9 p.m. and 2 a.m. or 2:30 a.m. I can't remember. So it could be any time within that range. And so if it's 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever, you have to get up and do the shot at that time or stay up or what have you. But, so it's very precise, and I ended up being a few minutes off. I can't believe that no one's ever a few minutes off on the time. But I told them because I wanted full disclosure in case it was a big deal. But people had me really worried about the trigger shot when I was watching it on videos of it and how it would be and side effects. I didn't have any side effects. That doesn't mean you won't, of course. I just didn't. I've had, thank God, I've had unbelievably, things have gone well through this process for me. I haven't been on the medications too long. I didn't have a whole lot of side effects. I did have some side effects, but they weren't horrible. I was on a mild, low dose of medication the entire time, so I wasn't pumped full of medications. My doctor actually said to me yesterday that had he given me double the prescription, I wouldn't feel nowhere near as much as well as I do now. So I think that it helped not having all of a strong dosage of the medication. So my instructions for last night with other than doing the trigger shot was to just do the Cetrotide. I did not do any Follistim. I did not do any Menopur, but I did the Cetrotide. They asked me to do it a little bit earlier than what I normally would do it. I normally did my shots between 8 and 9 p.m. And so I did the Cetrotide. They told me to do it around 6, 7. So I did it around 7:15. And they wanted to make sure I did not prematurely ovulate, which is what the Cetrotide does. It stops premature ovulation, or it's supposed to. But then that was it. When I did the trigger, I had such a problem. And again, I'm aware I had such a problem getting the medication into this syringe with that needle. And then once I finally did, okay, I finally didn't figure it out. And that's kind of what caused this whole 5-minute lateness I had. But I finally did figure it out. Even though I was watching the video, I watched the video on Freedom Med Teach. I did. I suggest if you're doing it to watch the videos. I watched the videos twice before doing it. And the third time I watched it, I was following along. But the woman who's doing it on there, she's a pro. I had a very similar situation with Cetrotide, but it wasn't as bad as with this because the bottle for this is much bigger, so it ended up causing me more problems. Well, not much bigger, but it's bigger. So I ended up fumbling with that. I finally got it. By that point, I'm looking at the clock. I see that I'm coming up on 10:15. It's 10:16. I still am trying to get this liquid out of this bottle. By the time I get it all going, I'm close to 10:18. Then luckily I already have circles on my butt. And I just turned around, tried to use, I'm right-handed. I held it with my right hand. I used my left hand to kind of try to stretch the skin a little bit with my left hand between my fingers like this. And then over the circle is kind of in between. And then I just, just went in for it. It says on the video, you kind of injected dart-like. So it's just like, boom, It wasn't that bad. Honestly, I didn't feel it. But I do have a little extra cushion there. So maybe the cushion came in handy. I've noticed throughout this process, fat has come in handy. And before this process, I worked out every day, 7 days a week. Every day, rain, shine, hurt, it didn't matter. And, so I haven't, since I started this, other than the running for subways and trains here and there that I've discussed before, but I haven't really worked out. And so it's interesting because, I've never valued the fat that I've been trying to get rid of. And so this injecting it, I don't know if that helped, but having that little extra cushion, I felt it, but it didn't hurt at all to inject it. And even the way you have to kind of, thrust it in, it didn't hurt. I was hesitant to do it, right? Because you're hesitant to stab yourself. But, once I did that and it didn't hurt, I just slowly pressed the plunger. It's not that much liquid. I only had 1 milliliter. And then that was it. It was done. I put the pressure on it with the gauze and it was done. It was not really even sore. I felt a little something for like a minute afterwards, but that was it. Trigger done. Now, I knew that today they were going to do my blood work and make sure I did the trigger correctly, and no one's called me. And what time is it? It's 6:40 here now. No one's called me, so I'm assuming I did it correctly, 6:40 p.m. They would have had my blood test results at this point. And one of the things they told me that they were going to do is make sure that you gave the trigger shot correctly. Because I think the HCG, I guess is in your blood, and they should see it when they do the shot or when they test your blood. So ultimately now it's the egg retrieval. And so I had my doctor's office required us to be there at 6:30, and I went to that, and it was fine. It's a little overwhelming. I got a thick packet full of instructions, which I guess is good. I don't know what to expect. I stopped watching videos, even though I'm taping a video while I'm saying I stopped watching them, because they were just freaking me out. People had horrible experiences. They had great experiences. You never know. sometimes, not that you should be uninformed, but sometimes not. You, the mind is sometimes stronger than the body. And if you go in thinking, because you've seen all these videos of these horror stories, that things are going to be horrible, or, oh, this could happen, or they could do this, or this could go wrong, or this could, your mind plays tricks on you. So what I'm trying to do, although I have watched those videos, what I'm trying to do is just, pray and keep it in my mind that my experience will go as best as possible, and hopefully decompress and de-stress, which is always very hard for me. It's easy for me to say and very hard for me to do. As I mentioned earlier, my blood pressure was not in a good place when I went to the appointment this morning, and probably won't be tomorrow because I internalize these feelings. They do affect me clearly, which is not healthy, especially if you're going to go through a pregnancy. I don't know how to fix it. And meditate. I try to eat pretty healthy. Like I said, I work out a lot. It's just, I don't know. But I need to try to find a way to calm down. And even though I want to watch videos and see, what was her experience, or what did she do, or how did she deal with it, or tips for the egg retrieval. I just watched a video right before recording this. It was 5 tips for improving your egg retrieval. And one of those tips was take the whole week off of work before your egg retrieval so you could rest. Maybe in the perfect world, for the perfect situation, for people could just take the whole week off to do that. But I don't have the luxury to take the whole week off before the egg retrieval, to just rest my body. I understand that doing these stimulants puts your body through a lot. And I've been up at like 4 a.m., countless days, 4 or 5 a.m., going to the doctor to get there because a daily monitoring has been between 6:30 and 8:30 a.m. and then working a full day, and then coming home and then, getting prepared and doing shots and starting it all over again. So that's what my experience has been. And if you have the luxury to just take that time off and rest, why wouldn't you? Of course. But I thought that was an unrealistic tip, to just take the entire week off and rest. And, but if you feel you need to and you can, you should. But something like that, it can prevent barriers to people who don't have that luxury. So I certainly didn't do it. And, I'm still going to do my egg retrieval tomorrow. And, I don't think the fact that I didn't get to do that is going to impede it too much. Another thing with the instructions is that, so tonight after 12 o'clock, I have to fast. I think that's pretty normal for any type of procedure like this, where you're going to get anesthesia. My egg retrieval will be done in a hospital. The fertility center clinic that I go to is right across the street from the hospital. So they'll be doing it in an actual full hospital. They said it'll take like between 10 and 15 minutes, which is funny because I didn't think it would take a long time, but there's a lot of pressure on something that's really short. I have to be there at 7:15. It's not till 9:15, so I have to be there 2 hours before for something that's really short. I've had an endoscopy before, because I used to suffer from acid reflux issues, and that's when they put the camera scope down your throat, I believe. And I had that, and that was literally 10-15 minutes. You're in, you're out. I was never worried about it. Maybe the first one. I've had 2. So I never really thought too much about the endoscopy. It's very simple, especially the second one, because I knew what to expect, right? And it may be similar with egg retrieval, God forbid, but if you have to do it more than once, at least the second time, you know what to expect. I think a lot of the anxiety for me comes from the fact that I've never done it before, so I just don't know what to expect. And I think that's probably normal. And not that I want to do it more than once, but if I ever had to do it again after tomorrow, I'll know what to expect. They gave my husband some soap. It's funny. It's like a mini bar of Dove to wash with. Dial. Dial is antibacterial soap. And so he's going to be giving his fresh semen sample while I'm doing my thing or getting my thing done to me. And so he's supposed to shower with Dial, this bar of soap, which I thought was kind of interesting, that they gave that to him. It's like a little half bar or something, to work with. Another point that I think is interesting is that the doctor I met with today, I think her name was Dr. Hancock or something like that. I'll probably never see her again. She was saying the reason that people, the pain, and she explained the pain after the egg retrieval to me pretty well. She said it's going to feel like it's coming from your rectum, but it's actually at the beginning or the top of the vagina. And she said they take the same type of kind of camera thing they've been using to do the sonograms or the ultrasound, sorry. But it has a needle, long needle on the end of it. And they take it and they're basically sucking the fluid and stuff out of each egg follicle. Yeah. And so she said, so if you have a lot of egg follicles, which I do, I don't know how many they're going to find in there, it tends to be worse for you because there's a lot more poking, right? Each time they have to go and jab that needle in, the more they jab the needle, the more trauma to some extent, for lack of a better word. She didn't say trauma, I'm saying trauma, but she did say the more they have to use the needle if you have a lot of follicles, because they're going to take them all. She said they're going to do everything right now because even some of the smaller follicles, the ones that are like 12, 14 millimeters, may have a mature egg in them. So they go for all of them. So if you have 40 egg follicles, they're going to go for 40 egg follicles. And it sounds like it's a good thing, but they're like going to be, dip, stabbing you over and over with this needle. I also read that if your ovaries aren't in the right place, or if they need to hold them still, they might have people press on your stomach that can help hold the ovaries still or in a place they want them to be in. And sometimes that causes bruising. You're asleep, but they're doing that while you're asleep, so sometimes that causes bruising. I mean, it's nothing there's nothing you can do about it. If you're going to go through this process, if you're going to do, the egg retrieval, which is part of this process, the whole point of it, you can't avoid it. It's the whole point. If nothing else, even if you don't do a transfer right away, this is a step. Even if you were just going to freeze your eggs, this is a step. This is the crucial, the step, the reason we're doing all of this, I guess. There's a baby at the end, but this is a crucial step. And so you have to go through it. And there's no way to say, what it's going to be or your experience. Of course, I'll keep you posted on my experience. I also went out and got some gas X because the doctor today said I should have, get some gas X. I already had Tylenol. Remember, you can only take Tylenol. Can't take any other pain relievers unless I guess you get it okayed by them. I have a heating pad. I have hot compresses. I have a thermometer. So I kind of set up a little area because I don't know how poorly I'm going to feel when I return tomorrow. So I didn't want to have to really look for anything. So everything's kind of set up so I can kind of just get it and say, hey, I need the heating pad, or I need the gas X, or I need Tylenol, or what have you, or anything those are the things I anticipate needing for my comfort relatively immediately. So I have them set up because I don't want to spend too much time looking for it when you're in pain. I mean, my husband can do it, but, just to make it easier. And I think that was really the end of the appointment. Is now is just preparing myself mentally. I mean, there are no shots tonight, so that's good. But now it's really just preparing myself mentally, not so much physically. There's nothing else I can do at this point. but it's the emotional and mental preparation for it. Because I'm going to be honest with you, when I was giving myself the trigger shot, this is how bad I am. I was giving myself the trigger shot last night, especially when I noticed that it was already past 10:15. My hands were literally shaking. Like, I'm literally, thank God for the circles. Thank God. Okay. My hands were shaking. I'm like, oh my God, it's 10:15. It's 10:15. Like, I haven't done it. I can't get the liquid out. What am I going to do? Oh my God. It's not a good look. And that's what I was doing. It was just, and then I finally just like, and pushed the plunger down. I was able to hold my hand still to do that. But up until that point, I could just, it was just a ball of nerves. And I know that about myself. So you have to know yourself. Not that I could, I'm not saying I can 100% change it. I'd like to, but I know that about myself, that I'm a worrier. I'm nervous. I'm easily agitated. Not too good. Not too good of quality there, but I know those things. And so I'm trying to, make tomorrow as painless as possible in the recovery portion of it, which will be the most painful part. I mean, the process itself, you'll be asleep for. So it's not like you're going to feel anything while they're doing a retrieval. And I was told even by one of the nurses, I did ask a nurse also, she said with an hour or two after the retrieval, you might still feel fine because the anesthesia and the medications that they're giving you haven't fully worn off yet. It's that period after that you're really preparing for, so hopefully it won't be too bad for me. So I'm going to be up again tomorrow very early. They said I have to be there 7:15. But one of the things that they suggested, you could still have liquids, even though you're supposed to fast. You can have liquids, broths, clear liquids for the most part, up until I believe it's 5:30. And so they suggested you set an alarm for 4:30 a.m., get up and have a big glass of water. Not much sleep going on here. But the good thing is that after this happens, after the retrieval, I'll be able to relax. After Saturday's retrieval, I'll come back home. I'll spend the rest of the day relaxing. Sunday, I'm just going to relax. I'll probably go to work on Monday. I should be able to. I pray. I'll have my transfer either Tuesday or if it's a 3-day transfer, or Thursday if it's a 5-day transfer. We don't know yet. They'll let me know that afterwards. During that time, I'll be injecting myself, I believe, in the butt with progesterone and sesame oil. So that's the next shot. But that doesn't start yet. I don't know if that starts tomorrow or Sunday, but they'll let me know. And then I think they have scheduled for November 6th and November 8th. I'll have 2 blood tests, luteal blood tests. Not really sure what that's about yet. And then I think they have scheduled for November 12th for me to take a pregnancy test. It's that quick. It's like literally that quick. And I started this process. I mean, listen, the IVF road is a long road, so it doesn't start overnight. So I don't want to give that impression. But from the moment I started the shots last week on Wednesday, which I believe was October 17th. And by November 12th, I'll be taking a pregnancy test. I mean, that's less than a month of it. And, I as I said, I was stimming, taking the stimulant shots for roughly 8-9 days. That was it. So it's been quick for me. I haven't had a lot of waiting. It's been very quick. And to some extent, I'm happy about that because I'm happy for it to be over. Talk to you soon.